legislative actions contribute and form the actions that have been taken by the popular power of the nation at the helm as well of the acting president Delcy Rodriguez for the protection of the Venezuelan people. This project that was at this moment being under discussion, which is the organic law for protection of the socioeconomic rights of the Venezuelan people, with the objective of protecting the income of workers, making an emphasis as well in the work that Venezuela and the executive power have been performing to accompany the Venezuelan people in guaranteeing peace and sovereignty of the nation. Thank you, Deputy. I'm going to give the floor now to Deputy David Uzcategui. Citizen, Vice President, colleagues, deputies, our bench have very clear the priority of this National Assembly. It is no one else but working and legislate for the recovery, economic recovery of our country, for the economic development of the Venezuelan people, for the development of social services, and for all Venezuelans to have incomes, salaries, pensions that allow us to live in a dignified manner. All that has to do in that matter for the recovery, the economic recovery of Venezuela. Our bench is going to be there supporting and without vacillations. But in this article, in this space, and I understand, Vice President, that this is the first discussion, we are not going to deny the vote. We are going to support it because we are going to go with the permanent commissions of economy to assess these topics that make noise inside of this law. For example, the creation of the national system of observation of prices that makes noise and that it is not convenient for Venezuela. If you want for the economy to move forward, to recover its income, its purchasing power, we need to stimulate that the greatest capital from inside and outside to invest in Venezuela and to boost the competence, to boost contest. Only with the announcement of the arrival of $300 million to Venezuela announced by acting president, the dollar fell down dramatically just because of the announcement. So there are elements within this legislative proposal that we need to discuss to the Permanent Commission of Economy for this project of law be transmitted and be transformed into a quality of life for Venezuelans, for the people to live in a dignified manner, to live with their purchasing power. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President and deputies. Thank you, Deputy Uzcategui. Now I'm going to give the floor to other deputy. Well, this is the debate that is being generating at this hour inside the National Assembly, where the organic law for the protection of the socioeconomic rights of the Venezuelan people is being discussed. The board of directors, deputies, women and men, and in the first place I want to recall you for the deputies of the opposition that this country has been developing in the past few years, practically in the last decade, under circumstances of extraordinary complexity that cannot be forgotten within the analysis and any consideration that is being made, because it would be a position not only fundamental, the lack of sincerity, but also the dishonesty with the people of Venezuela and with their own conscience. The economic blockade brought a path of that is at this moment over $500,000 in losses for our economy, and the economic blockade of this country
received over $200,000 million. These resources, of course, in the hands of the state and of a Bolivarian and socialist force, they would have guaranteed the continuity of the gigantic social work of the Bolivarian Revolution with Commander Chavez. Gigantic social work. Which takes from you any kind of moral authority, even to make reference to aspects so vital of the development of our people, like the salary, education, health, housing, employment, etc. They don't have any moral authority to refer to that, and especially not having blockaded and having supported the aggressions of imperialism. They should feel embarrassed to feel and use the words in those terms in this debate, and I'm going to make reference quickly to the following in reference to this law. For there to be no doubt and absolutely any kind of confusion, this is a law that is fundamented in responsibility and that has as a purpose a constitutional mandate. We're not inventing it here. It is an obligation that we have. But the Constitution, those who assume the Constitution is theirs, they need to be inscribed in the spirit of this law. Like we under blockade and aggression, the imperial attacks of the speculators, of the monopolies, of the enemies of the people. How we, under those conditions, transformed as we are in fact doing, the growth of the economy, the development of production in a bigger well-being. That doesn't happen in an automatic way. There are countries that are economic powers and have huge inequalities. They have mountains of poor and of poverty, and they have been dragging it in the most shameful and unconsidered way, being able to solve all of those problems. In this sense, the state has to assume that responsibility, as it is doing with the proposal of this law. Not only with that, but this is going to contribute. Only the intervention of the state can generate a just distribution of wealth, and we are acting in two lines: increasing the wealth and guaranteeing that that wealth is distributed in a fair way. To take us at the point that we were at the beginning of the blockade, a prosperity level as it had never been known in the history of this country. This is a law that is not in contradiction or hits with the necessity of stimulating the productive forces of the nation, the initiative, even the private initiatives. Our vision of economy is a mixed economy. Private companies and capital have done a very important contribution in the last few years, and we have recognized it to the development of this country. And I assure you that when we show this law, they're going to back it. Do you know why? Because the majority of those businessmen are not inscribed in those that speculate, in those that steal, but those who are against this law, they have the clear suspicion of being associated with those who speculate and those who steal, because precisely they're doing everything possible not so a law that attends the working people is not approved. We are completely sure, because we have done it. One last minute, because we have done it in the past. It can be brought in harmony, the development of an economy like ours, with the well-being of the people and the popular participation, which I consider to be very important. There's two ways of seeing the country, there's two ways of seeing development and the state, an elite governing at the service of the big corporations and giving their backs to the people, and the other one, which is the socialist and Bolivarian, where the state only strengthens only if the people is organized and increases their participation, and this law will be impossible to apply without the participation of the people and popular power in a way. So thank you, dear comrades. Thank you, Deputy Jesus Farias. There's no one else in the right to speak, and I want to do some closure comments on this debate. This organic project law for the socio-economical protection rights, which is one of the fundamental elements that are expressed in this exposition of motives. Firstly, it retakes the norms of protection of the consumer that were still existing up to the moment of the approval of the last law. These laws also adjust to the current moments. Second, it rescues the figure of the committees of consumers and users, and it recognizes the role of the communal councils and the organized people. Third, it has maintained the figure of a superintendent of the protection of the socio-economical rights. That is the concept, the protection of the socio-economical rights of the citizen and the people. Fourth, it creates a national system of observation, which was made reference to here. That system is a tool for the supervision and the monitoring of the prices at the time that it preserves the competency of the state. It recognizes all of the dynamics, the economical dynamics, and it also takes the different conducts that are part of the law of just prices, which turn into sanctions, and it also diminishes the discretion of the function members of the intendancy, reserving the application of measures as the closure of establishment by the authorities of the maximum authorities of this organization. It also takes the use of agreements between the consumers and users as a mechanism to guarantee the fulfilling of the law. And there is an idea that in the sports sector we worked on this type of law in this political moment, this economical current moment of the country, needs of the joining of the three P's, the private sector, the public sector, but also of the people. And I am sure that with the three P's working together, we will accomplish a law that is connected, of course, with the law and the project of law that we approved in the first discussion, the reform of the law of hydrocarbons, which is, if we produce more petroleum, there will be more currencies for the country, and that will tribute to the incomes of the workers, of the people, of the economy in general, and this will tribute to the well-being of our people. Just to remember to the deputy that set the saving of the vote in accordance to Article 96, that it must be said to the secretary by writing. There's no one else in this right to speak list, so in consideration, the honorable deputies that are in favor of approving in the first discussion the project of organic law for the protection of the socio-economical rights of conformity with what's established in the Article 104 of the rules interior of debate of the National Assembly, due with the sign of custom. In consequence, it is declared approved in the first discussion by qualified majority. The organic project law for the protection of the socio-economical rights, and is sent to the Permanent Commission of Economy, Finances and Social Development to create the report for its second discussion, as it's said in the different rules of the National Assembly. Next point in the order of the day, dear Secretary. First discussion of the project of organic law for the acceleration and optimization of the procedures, the administrative procedures of the public administration, in conformity with what's in Article 104 of the Rules of Interior and Debate of the National Assembly. This is the first This is the entire point, Vice President. Thank you, Secretary. Well, it corresponds now to vote in organic character of this project of law. In accordance to Article 203, in consideration, the Honorable Deputies and the Honorable that are in favor of approving the organic character of the project of law, organic for the acceleration and optimization of procedures administrative of the public administration in conformity with what is in the Article 203 of the Bolivarian Republic's Constitution, manifested with the sign of custom. It has been approved, the organic character. I'm going to give the right to speak to present the project of law, Deputy Maria Gabriela Vega. Good afternoon, Vice President. First, I ask for the authorization for my condition to present the law from my sitting position. Well, good afternoon. Once again, Vice President, dear parliamentary members, today we correspond to present the project in the first discussion of the organic law for the acceleration and optimization of the procedures, the administrative procedures of the public administration project of law, which is an initiative of the National Executive presented by our acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, on January 15th in her presentation of the annual message to the nation. In this moment, it is exceptional that it lived by the nation. It demands extraordinary measures to strengthen the action of the state, guarantee the well-being and the human rights of the population, the fulfilling of their essential goals, and very particularly the economical development and integral of the nation. That is why, in this sense, looking in the maximum efficiency of the acting of the state is in benefit of the people, because it constitutes one of the central objectives in these times of challenges that we have to overcome, and that are effectively we are overcoming, because always we're going to continue prevailing in our country with the men and women, with the people of Venezuela that day by day go out to do any administrative procedure, whether it's public or private. It exists a general consensus on the necessity of transforming the procedures of the state to do them simpler, faster, deeper, and especially to ensure their objectives. In general, the people are convinced that it is necessary to eradicate rules and practices that makes bureaucracy and that obviously delay unnecessarily the results. Unfortunately, the decree with rank, value, and force of law of simplification of administrative procedures currently has not been enough to resolve this situation that day by day happens. From there, the demand of a new law presented by the National Executive that allows to adopt urgent measures from the National Executive to accomplish, accelerate, and especially to optimize all of the administrative diligences in favor of the citizenship of the Venezuelan people. This project of organic law that guarantees the constitutional rights and is presented has 13 dispositions in which we establish the object, the finality, and the fundamental principles that inspire its content. Likewise, it establishes the attributions of the National Executive in matters of acceleration and optimization of procedures of the state, indicating with precision all of the consequences of all of the competencies of the executive, of the president of the republic, for what to suspend, reduce, suppress, derogate, and modify procedures, authorizations, permits, and requisites in law, rules, resolutions, providence, and administrative acts, including the necessary digitalization, uniformity, and unification of those. Finally, Deputy, Citizen, President, and Vice President, the proposal of organic law, it creates a presidential commission to evaluate and propose to the National Executive the measures that need to be adopted in this matter, attending wide procedures of participation and popular consultation. To finalize, it is duty to inform that this project of law does not require budget, because the executions assigned to the organs of the national public administration. On the contrary, it's possible that its development saves money to the national treasury. I invite the deputies of this important forum to join in a single voice to be able to approve this law in the first discussion, and for us to go in its public consultation and approval in second discussion, as it establishes the rules of interior and debate of the National Assembly and the pertinent law. Thank you, President. It is all. Thank you, Deputy Maria Gabriela Vega. We're going to give the right to speak Deputy Alfonso Campos. Good afternoon, blessings of God to all the people of Venezuela. Communication Media Plenarium Directive. We are in a moment, exceptional moment of the history of the Republic, and it has been necessary, unfortunately, given the situations, to adjust what we have had to adjust for a long time. It was said by the Liberator in the speech of Angostura, making reference to the procedures associated to the administration of justice. He said it in the signaling that it was an inheritance of the legislations of the colony of the time, when he called it a judicial encyclopedia monster of 1,000 heads. It is surprising that due to the nature, the bureaucracy is part of democracy as well, and definitely something urgent must be done. From the Democratic Alliance, we support this initiative of the executive. We support the spirit of the position of this law, and we will take the observations of consideration for the formulation of the article of this law. Particular case in the attribution that the law does, according to the exposition of the motives, that the law gives attributions to the national executive to derogate procedures, and we must remember that many of these procedures are in organic laws. To suppose an attribution of derogating an organic law goes through procedures that are of the legislative power and not of the executive power. It will be presented what has been observed, but from the Democratic Alliance, we support this initiative that we recognize is for the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Alfonso Campos, and I'm going to give the right to speak to Deputy Encio Angelini. Very good afternoon, Vice President, colleagues, deputies. Well, I am new as well. If truly it is necessary, extraordinary measures for the reality that we are living, this is a spiral with no end. The businessmen and entrepreneurs that just want to register a company need to just sign themselves in 17 organisms to be able to operate the business, and that is a reality. That is a spiral with no end, because when one finishes the last one, it must start again, and or if one is going to ask for a permit to import any product, it needs to go to the minister and then to the other minister, and when the end comes, then it must start again. So it's very complicated. But what I am concerned, and it was commented by the colleague previously, is that I believe that we have to legislate and not give that work to the executive. We are the ones who have to legislate, and we have to approve that law here and not give it to the executive, as it is in the exposition of motives that says clearly the national executive in matters of acceleration and optimization of procedures and administrative procedures of the state, indicating with precision all the competences of the President of the Republic to suspend and do all the procedures that needs to be done. I believe that that is our job, and it does not correspond to them. And the other thing is we need to enter modern times, and to do so when those comparisons that sometimes are very uncomfortable in other countries of the world, one can make a company simply through online, and in 48 hours one has all the permits and even bank accounts open, and that is what is wanted. And we don't have that very clear yet. And to end this, because I want to do this short, the excessive permits drown entrepreneurships, and Venezuelans lose time in that, and it leads to informality and also generates corruption. That is why, until we don't know entirely the text, we're going to observe the vote. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. I'm going to give the right to speak Deputy Carolina Garcia. Yes, good afternoon to all. To tell you that our people receives with joy this initiative of the law of the National Executive, and that today is presented in first discussion. Firstly, this is a law that guarantees constitutional rights, that is established specifically in the third title of the Constitution of the Republic of Venezuela, in the Article 51, and this third title, it must be said, that is of the human rights. It is considered part of human rights, the right of asking of the citizens, and it says that all people have the right to represent or lead petitions facing any authorities, and likewise it has also the right to receiving an answer that is adequate and timely. So this is a law that contemplates and that protects our citizens' rights, of our people, of the citizens, the right of petitioning. So it is also a law that eliminates bureaucratic procedures, and that is part of the fight against corruption, because it eradicates the collection of corrupt funds. And also to say to the deputies that came before me, due to their concern of the faculties that are given to the National Executive in this law, first, that the first discussion is to consider the exposition of motives, evaluate the objectives, the reach, and the viability of the law, to determine its pertinence, that is established in Article 104 of the Rules of Interior and Debate, and invite you to, sorry, Deputy, I'm going to ask, there's a chatter here in the Parliament. Please pay attention to the debate that it is given. Thank you, Vice President, and invite you to participate in the consultation of our law. This National Assembly is committed in making good laws for our people, and all those laws that we have carried forward, we have gone to consultations with our people to discuss them, to listen what are the opinions, the suggestions, and the proposals of the people. And you can join from your benches to discuss this law, and also to participate in the meetings of the Commission, to tell you that this law, and that clear to our people that in this law it includes mechanisms that allow the acceleration and the optimization of the administrative procedures in both of the efficiency of the state. How many times have we not gone, the citizens and the businessmen and women, to do any kind of procedures, and they ask for an amount of requisites that, as was well said, once they're completed, others have expired. It also contemplates this law to eliminate procedures that delay or make difficult the answers of the users. Also, as another concern that was presented by the bench of opposition, is to ordain the digitalizing of procedures and the reduction of the use of paper. So invite you to deepen in the content of the law, to accompany us in the discussion and the public consultation, and in the second discussion of this law. Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Carolina Garcia. There's no one else noted in the right to speak in this point. Is going to close the debate. It is closed. In consideration, the honorable deputies and that are in favor of approving in the first discussion the project of organic law for the acceleration and optimization of the administrative procedures of the public administration, in conformity with what has in the Article 104 of the Interior Rules of Debate of the National Assembly, manifested with the sign of custom. It has been approved It is declared approved in first discussion the project of organic law for the acceleration and optimization of administrative procedures of the public administration, and it is sent to the Permanent Commission of Internal Politics for its second discussion in conformity with what is established in Article 104 of the National Assembly. Next point, Citizen Secretary exhausted the legislative matter. Citizen Vice President.
With the passing of three bills such as the partial law reform, the partial reform of the organic law of the hydrocarbon law, and also the organic law for the protection of the socio-economic rights of the Venezuelan people. Also, there was a third law that was discussed today and was also passed. This organic law referred to the optimization of the work of the public administration. All of them proposed by Acting President Delcy Rodriguez, that also include sensitive topics for the people of Venezuela, that are also seeking to improve the well-being of the people and the equitable distribution of the wealth of the nation. This is all for the moment. Stay tuned with Telesur English.